It was a one-word sentence that changed Donald Trump's life. He wasn't expecting to hear that word yesterday. At 4:15 p.m., Judge Juan Merchan told defendant Donald Trump and his lawyers and the prosecutors in the courtroom, quote, "I'm going to excuse the jury about 4:30. We'll give them a few more minutes, and then we'll excuse them." Donald Trump's defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, said, "All right," and the judge said, "I'm going to step out for a few minutes." The conventional courtroom wisdom, for a variety of reasons, is the longer a jury deliberates, the better it is for the defense. And so Donald Trump and Todd Blanche were nearly giddy that the jury was going to go home for a second day without reaching a verdict.
Donald Trump thought that he was going home without a verdict today. He just had about 15 minutes to kill. And what we saw was a Donald Trump at that verdict, at the defense table, that we have never seen before. He was joking, he was laughing, he was smiling with Todd Blanche. They were chatting, they were laughing almost incessantly. Todd Blanche laughing so hard at one point, doubling over that his forehead almost touched the table in front of him. They thought that they were going home today. It seemed without a verdict. It was almost a jubilant, giddy Donald Trump, but that changed very, very quickly when Judge Merchan came back into the room to inform the parties that the jury had reached that verdict.
The jury had a verdict after only 9 hours of deliberation, which is not a long deliberation for a 34-count indictment of this complexity level. And so Donald Trump watched his jury enter the courtroom for what would be the final time. The jury walked by him, as they always did, at high speed, never looking at him, never looking at anyone else, just filing straight ahead, focused on the job they took an oath to do. There is no suspense like a jury verdict, nothing like it. We have taken the suspense out of so much of modern life. We have polls telling us who's going to win elections. We have computers tracking exactly where hurricanes are going to go. We can know the gender of our babies before they are born. There are websites devoted to predicting the chances of who's going to win which Oscar. And as prediction has become easier, suspense has become much more rare. In the entire history of the dramatic arts, from Shakespeare to Spielberg, no dramatist has been able to deliver to an audience the force of the impact a jury verdict has in the room as it hits just when the suspense feels unbearable. I've seen lives crushed in an instant by a jury verdict. I've seen people sent off to the electric chair by one word, guilty. And I've seen lives saved by a jury verdict. Winning the lottery has nothing on the words not guilty for a criminal defendant. Every announcement of every jury verdict leaves everyone in the courtroom dizzy, no matter which verdict they were hoping for. It's hard to trust your ears when you hear that verdict. Did he really say what I thought he said? Is what speeds through the minds of everyone who has just heard that verdict. The world slows down, and you experience the passage of time in thousandths of a second, so that if there is another count of the indictment, it always seems like the announcement of a second verdict comes a very long time after that first verdict. And if both of those verdicts are the same, only then do you just begin to believe your ears. That's when you hear the crying. That's when you hear the mothers crying for their sons who have just been convicted. I was a teenager when I heard a wife crying for her husband who had just been convicted of murder. I had many conversations with her during that trial. I can't remember the sound of her voice, but I will never forget the sound of her crying when she heard that verdict. And if there is a third verdict, only then does your mood brighten, if it's the verdict you wanted to hear. But if it's the verdict you don't want to hear, and if you're the defendant, by the third verdict, you're in the darkest place you have ever been in your life. Your eyes may be open, but you cannot see, you cannot feel, you cannot understand what is happening to you, and you begin to feel the greatest fear you've ever felt in your life about what is going to happen to you. For 2 full minutes yesterday, the worst 2 minutes of Donald Trump's life, Donald Trump listened to his jury verdict, delivered by the foreperson of the jury who moved to this country from Ireland and still has an Irish accent that was last heard in the courtroom when he was answering questions as a prospective juror 6 weeks ago. There were no screams of anguish, as you sometimes hear at jury verdicts. No one cried. The current Mrs. Trump wasn't there. Eric Trump was the only family member present, and if he has feelings for his father, they once again went unexpressed. The only thing defendant Donald J. Trump heard in the courtroom when the torturous suspense finally broke was this. The clerk: "How say you to the first count of the indictment charging Donald J. Trump with the crime of falsifying business records in the first degree? Guilty or not guilty?" Juror number 1, guilty. "How say you to count 2? Guilty. How say you to count 3? Guilty. How say you to count 4? Guilty. How say you to count 5? Guilty. How say you to count 6? Guilty. How say you to count 7? Guilty. How say you to count 8? Guilty. How say you to count 9? Guilty. How say you to count 10? Guilty. How say you to count 11? Guilty. How say you to count 12? Guilty. How say you to count 13? Guilty. How say you to count 14? Guilty. How say you to count 15? Guilty. How say you to count 16? Guilty. How say you to count 17? Guilty. How say you to count 18? Guilty. How say you to count 19? Guilty. How say you to count 20? Guilty. How say you to count 21? Guilty. How say you to count 22? Guilty. How say you to count 23? Guilty. How say you to count 24? Guilty. How say you to count 25? Guilty. How say you to count 26? Guilty. How say you to count 27? Guilty. How say you to count 28? Guilty. How say you to count 29? Guilty. How say you to count 30? Guilty. How say you to count 31? Guilty. How say you to count 32? Guilty. How say you to count 33? Guilty. And how say you to count 34? Guilty. The clerk, please be seated. 34 times. 34 times. Just half an hour earlier, Donald Trump was laughing with his lawyer, laughing as he had never laughed before. And then he had to listen to the word he hoped he would never hear 34 times. He had to listen to that word 34 times because 12 people randomly chosen from the 1.6 million people living on the island of Manhattan raised their right hand and answered yes to this question. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will try the case of the people of the state of New York against Donald J. Trump in a fair and impartial manner, and to the best of your ability render a true verdict according to the law and evidence? I watched that jury paying much more attention to every word of testimony than Donald Trump did. I watched that jury paying much more attention to every word the lawyers on both sides said than Donald Trump did. I watched that jury never close their eyes in that courtroom the way Donald Trump did for hours on end. I watched that jury respect what was happening in that room more, much more, than Donald Trump ever could.
The only voice that matters is the voice of the jury, and the jury has spoken.